Hello team and welcome back to the channel. So before starting the video, a small request, please subscribe to the channel. We work very hard and we upload videos on daily basis at 9 a.m. in the morning. Okay, also two videos basically I wanted to suggest you in case you are new on my channel. First is like this DevOps engineer current market packages. So obviously everyone is curious how much DevOps engineers get paid. So I have like today only I made this video how much MNC product based companies pay and what are the skills required, what are the certification you should go for. Also I have covered for fresher 1 to 2 years experience, 2 to 3 years experience. Along with that I have covered how much percentage of hike you can get if you stay in the same company or if you switch. So all those things have been covered within this 20 minutes video, so you can check it out. Second, what I would suggest you to check out is the 30 days of DevOps which I am creating each video a day. Okay, as of now we are on day 7. So in this series of videos I am going to cover complete cloud DevOps as well as normal DevOps. Okay, so in those series of videos I'll be sharing you applications also which you can use for your own POC. I will teach you how to write a full-fledged pipelines that will be having stages like compilation, building packages, running security analysis using different security tools like SonarQube, OWASP, dependency check, Privy. Then we will build Docker images, scan the Docker image for vulnerabilities. Then we will deploy to either Docker container or Kubernetes clusters. Okay, so everything will be covered, and this whole series is completely for free. If you just check out 1 or 2 videos, you will know how like useful these videos are. Okay. So now coming to today's video. So today is basically day 8 of our DevOps series, 30 days of DevOps. Okay, so today we are going to cover Docker. Okay, so some of you may already know Docker, some of you don't, so I will just start from scratch. Okay, so as I mentioned, like we have started with by using this Java based applications, and when we built a Java based application, one of the most important command that we run is mvn package or mvn clean package. Okay, so let me write it here, mvn package. Okay, so when we run this command, what exactly happens? So we get an artifact as an output. Okay, and usually that artifact is in either jar format or var format, which you already know if you have like studied Java in college also. Okay, so in case you don't know, jar or var file is the actual packaged application which we can execute to run. Okay, and you know, like to execute a jar file, what commands we run. So to execute a jar or var file, we run the command set java -jar, the name of the jar or var file. Okay, so with this command you can execute any Java application, basic Java application, not the complex one, because in complex one we need to make so many changes. Okay, but the base level, on the base level, this is the command that we use to execute a Java application. Okay, coming back here. So when we run the command package application, mvn package, we get the jar or var file. Okay, now the question is, what exactly is jar or var file? Okay, so it's nothing but the source code packaged with dependencies. Okay, in case you are wondering what exactly is dependencies are a list of like complete several jar files which are required to build the application. Okay, so these jar files are usually available on Maven central repository. So when we run the command package, it will download all the jar file and package your source code with this, and that becomes the jar file or var file which you can execute using below command java-jar app.jar to execute. Okay, now let's see the scenario where, let me just create this first. Okay, so let's say that we have built a Java application, and we built that application in Linux environment by running shell commands, and we were using JDK 8. Okay, so the environment that we built our application on was Linux OS and JDK 8. Okay, and once like we started running the command, what application generated jar file. Okay, and to execute the jar file, we ran the command java-jar app.jar. Okay, and when we ran this command, our application started running automatically inside Tomcat server on port 8080. Okay, right? Okay, now one more thing that I want to let you know. Let's say, sorry, it will come, we will come to that later. Okay, so let's say like we build our application on Linux environment with JDK8. We build it and it generated a jar file. Okay, and to execute that jar file, we ran the command java-jar app.jar, which is accessible on port 8080. Okay, now what happened, my friend said that okay, you have built a very nice application, can you share the artifact? Okay, artifact is jar file, because we are executing the jar file and jar file is the main application. Okay, so my friend said that can you share the jar file to me, I also want to run that application on my system. Okay, but the problem that my friend is having is that my friend is having a my friend is having a Windows machine. Okay, Windows machine, also it is not he is not having JDK8, he is having JDK17. Okay, and other problem is that he is not having jar file and he don't know what is the command to run what is the command used to run a jar file. Okay, so that means you see the problem here, that even we have the main application jar file, we cannot share it to everyone, because this jar file, it is dependent on certain factors. For example, since we have built in on Linux environment, so to run it will require Linux environment. Secondly, we have built our application using JDK8, so again to run that jar file it requires JDK8. Okay, and lastly, last but not least, the most important thing is to run in Java jar file, we need to have the command, we need to have the basic knowledge on running jar file. Okay, which is java-jar. So my friend was having none of this. Okay, so you see the problem ki even though jar is the distributable artifact, even though we cannot share it to other person so that they can execute it. Okay, because it is dependent on certain factors. So what Docker suggested, that instead of sharing just the jar file, what if like we share the whole environment? Okay, that means jar was one package. Here you can see jar is one package, which is source code plus dependencies. Okay, so Docker suggested ki instead of just sharing the jar file, we will package the jar along with the commands to execute, along with the port on which application should be running, along with the environment on which it is built. Okay, so we will package everything together, and next like we will call this new package as Docker image. Okay, so instead of sharing a jar file, we will share another package which will be Docker image. Okay, so what the other user needs to do is simply run this Docker image. Okay, and then automatically what the running Docker image will do, it will create a Docker container. Okay, it will create a Docker container, which is basically whole in this like it inside the container is basically it's like a Linux or whatever we have defined, that VM inside that JDK8 will be automatically installed, jar will be copied, and then this command will be running to execute the jar file. Okay, now you see the problem that what Docker solves. Docker makes sure that if you have built an application and that is dependent on certain factors like the OS on which it is built, the dependencies that it is having, so Docker suggested while sharing that application to any other person, we will package the whole thing, we will package the application with environment. Okay, so if someone asks you like what exactly Docker does, you can simply say it packages the application with the environment on which is built and on which it is dependent to run. Okay, right? So you understand what Docker does. Now the question is, very important thing is like how do we like package the application with environment. Okay, and that is very easy. The reason that I wrote these things, because they are going to be used right now. Okay, so you see like first of all what we have, jar file. Secondly, we need to have like a command. Then we need to define a port on which application is supposed to be accessible. Then we need to know which OS is used for building, like on which OS this application got built, and the JDK version. Okay, now when I say that we want to package the application using Docker, okay, to create Docker image, so that we do using a file which is known as Docker file. Okay, where when we write Docker file, D is supposed to be capital. Okay, So basically Docker file is the name of a file which contains the commands to package the application with environment. Okay, now if in case you are thinking like how you can write a Docker file, very easy, you just need to focus on these things. Okay, so first we will there are certain predefined keywords in Docker file which using which we can write Docker file. Okay, so first keyword that is predefined is from. So and from is also the first command that is supposed to be in your Docker file. Okay, so what it contains, after from we need to write something like openjdk :alpine. Let me explain you what exactly it is. Okay, so basically openjdk :alpine we have written, that is another Docker image. Okay, or you can say just it is the base image that that is supposed to be used. Okay, now you can see I have written openjdk :alpine. Okay, you know what basically is the base image is containing is this base image is made up of Linux and JDK. Okay, because you can see from the name this is the base image and it contains JDK and Linux. Okay, so right, so like first main requirement we have written right now, right? So and also remember in Docker file first line is always from, because that is the main command which defines which OS is supposed to be used. Okay, second command, let's say second command, OS we have defined. Now what we need to have is we need to have the jar file to build it, right? Okay, so second command we can write copy, and then we can write like let's say, usually if you remember my previous videos, you would remember when we built it that Java based application, our jar file exists inside target, then app.jar. Okay, now I wrote copy command. So this copy command, what it will do, it will copy this jar file on the server where we want to deploy the application or create the container. Okay, and as you know, my stray dogs will start barking as soon as I start recording videos, so just try to ignore them. Okay, so you understand, like first command we defined the base image, second command we copy the jar file. Okay, two things we have provided. Next thing, if you can see the screen, next thing was port, on which port our application should be accessible. So you can see from the image left side, port we defined was 8080, right? And last command, if you see, one command is pending, if you can guess, that is the command to execute jar file. Okay, so for that, like we can write a command which is supposed to run as soon as these above files are done. Okay, so that will be cmd. Okay, this is the command for executing, like whatever command we wrote right here, that will be the first thing that will be executed. Okay, so how we can write it? So we can write java hyphen, then again jar. Okay, then we have app.jar. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, I just forgot to write it before only. No issues. Okay, so now we have written our first Docker file, right? Okay, now let me explain you. It's nothing different from what I have written here. If you see, we are trying to package this jar file with the environment. Two environment is there: Linux environment, Linux OS image, JDK 8, and we have the port on which application will be accessible. And lastly, we have the command to execute jar file. Same thing I have written here. You just need to know these things, these predefined commands. Okay team, so once you have written this what is that, Docker file, now executing this Docker file, what it will do, it will create the Docker image, or you can say it will package the whole thing, package the application with the environment, right? Okay, so let's say like we have done this, and next what happened, like we let's say we received the Docker image and we have the Docker image is installed, or we have the this package. Okay, Docker image package. Okay, next what we need to do is to execute the application using the Docker image. We need to execute or run that Docker image. Okay, so when we run that Docker image, then we can say running instance of this Docker image will create another container. We call it as Docker container, and your application will be running inside that container. Okay, and if you're wondering what exactly is container, so it's nothing different with not different with any Linux based image, because we are using Linux, So this container will be having the OS image, or you can say it's like a virtual machine which will be having Linux environment, okay? And inside that virtual machine automatically JDK8 will be installed, since we are like using this, okay? And secondly, on that virtual machine automatically, because we are running these commands now, because we have these commands, so automatically an jar file will be existing there, then port will be defined there, and then automatically like when we execute the Docker image, this command will run, okay? This is the first command that will run, okay? So as soon as this command will run, you can see application will start on this container, okay? So basically we will be accessing the application from that container, okay? And this is what we are going to do today. So like for that, like what things, which project we are going to use. Basically I have a fully fledged application, Java based application, which is having front end, back end, and a database, okay? So that application we will build using Maven, but we will deploy this application or like using we will create a Docker image of that application, we will push that Docker image to a Docker Hub repository, and then we will build our application, like deploy our application inside a container using Docker image. So okay, and everything I will show you from scratch. But the only request that I have is you watch previous videos, because everything is linked and we are integrating stages one by one, okay? Okay, so with that being said, let's start the implementation. Okay team, okay, as soon as I have clicked the record button, the dogs outside my house, they are like, peace was never an option, and they will start barking now. Okay, so this is this is our yesterday's pipeline, and actually I have removed the test stage and nexus stage because we won't be needing it here as of now. And the reason for removing test stage is because the project that we are going to use has test cases failure, okay? So as I have told you previously also, in case you want to like skip the test cases, you can use a parameter an argument -d skip test is equal to true, okay? So after using that, your build will work fine, okay? Now just to show you the steps that I have ran before like setting up things. So first I ran these two commands on my VM, then I ran this command to install and set up Docker and give permission so that all the users can execute Docker commands, okay? And finally I ran this command to install Jenkins. So once you have ran these commands, then your Jenkins will be up, Docker will be installed, and rest how to configure Jenkins and everything you already know from the previous videos, okay? So as of now, inside my Jenkins I have installed SonarQube, and along with SonarQube OS dependency check, okay? So I have done those things, okay? Just to let you know, you can see like this is the new, see also like certain changes which I have made. Let me just show you in my pipeline. So in pipeline only, first of all, this is the project repository that I'm using, shopping cart. URL will be available to you, don't need to worry about that, okay? Then compilation I ran, and after that for SonarQube stage, obviously like I need to change this URL and token, because I'm using a new SonarQube version, okay? Other than that, I have just changed the this name of the project, okay, and the project key also. Just do these two things, okay? Then I have run the maven clean package command to package the application, and here I am skipping the test cases, because if I not, then the job will fail, okay? And as usual, I have ran this OS dependency check command, okay? So this much I have done, and now we are going to execute Docker commands, okay? Okay, so to show you, before that I wanted to show you the Docker file, and let me explain you what are the Docker commands in that Docker file, okay? So you can see Docker file exists inside this Docker folder. If I open this, see here, first of all, open JDK by default it is using, and a Linux based image. So this is the base image, or you can see the OS that on which our container will be created, okay? Then a deployment port is 8070, okay? So on this port our application will be accessible to us, and then we are defining basically a path, or you can say app home, okay, whose location is /user/src/app, okay? So inside this app folder our artifact is going. If you see closely here, as you know, like when we run maven commands, automatically it generates the artifact inside target folder, and you can see like shopping cart is generating the artifact, and we are copying that artifact using copy command inside the app folder, okay? You can see $app home, and app home we have defined here, okay? Next here like finally we are just informing that our work directory is app home. Okay, and last command, entry point. Okay, so if you remember my Docker file, I ran the command as cmd and entry point are similar, not same but similar. They are also, they both of them are used to execute the first command that is supposed to run when you execute a Docker file. Okay, not Docker file, Docker image. Okay, when you execute Docker image, the first command that is supposed to run is either whichever you have defined, entry point or cmd. Okay, they both are similar but not same. There are differences but they are similar. Okay, so here we are using entry point, and here also, as I mentioned you, that in most of the Java based application, the base command that will trigger the application is always this command, java-jar app.jar. Here also you can see. Okay, so using this Docker file we are going to build our application, right? Okay, so coming back to our pipeline, let me just save it and let's go back here. Okay, so what we are going to do now, just one thing we need to do is go to manage Jenkins, go to plugins, and in available plugins we will install Docker stages, Docker steps, because we are going to create Docker stage, so we'll be needing it. So I'll be adding some pipelines, Docker pipeline, then Docker build step. Okay, and this one, these four are fine. Click on install without restart and let's wait for it to complete. So once it completes, we need to write Docker commands to first of all create the Docker image, then build it, first create the Docker image, then push it to Docker Hub, and then like fetch it to create the to deploy the application inside a container. Okay, one more thing I wanted to show you is Docker Hub. If I go to Docker Hub, so Docker Hub is the public repository place where we have multiple images, and I am going to push my Docker image inside this. Okay, so let me log into this one, click on sign in, username will be Adi Jaiswal. I hope you have already created your Docker Hub account because you'll be needing it, and password would be this one. Okay, click on continue. Sorry about that, let me see, Adi Jaiswal. Yeah, we are able to log in, and if I go to my okay, we are inside our repository only. These are like my previous images that I have built, and you can see lots of images I have built from quite some time. Okay, no issues, we are going to do it again. Okay, so this is also done. Now we need to go to manage Jenkins, go to tools. Okay, scroll down to end, and you can see Docker installation. So here we will provide a name as simply Docker, and we want to use a latest version, so we will select installation is source is from docker.com, and version we will use latest. Okay, that's all. Click on apply. Okay, so this is done. Next what we need to do is edit our pipeline to add Docker stages. Okay, so let's open the pipeline. Okay, one second. Okay, yeah, this is also fine. You can see like, see also one more thing, this is not my application shopping cart, it belongs to someone else. I am just using it since it was like publicly available, so I just forked it on my system and I am using it. Okay, so we will go to configure, scroll down, and let's expand it, like let it make it little better. Yeah, so OWASP we have run. Okay, next stage what we want to do is create the Docker image. Okay, so what I will do, I will copy this command to create a clone and paste it here. Okay, so first thing that I'm going to do is change the name. Sorry, I build Docker image. Okay, build Docker image. Now one thing that you need to understand, and make sure that you understand it very clearly, writing Docker commands directly we cannot write. If we write it, it won't work. So basically we need to enclose it inside a script. Okay, so first of all, before anything, we need to create a script like this, script curly braces, and inside it our Docker commands will exist. Okay, so next thing we need to create a stage. So we will go to pipeline syntax, which is one of the very useful feature of Jenkins. Okay, and here you will see multiple option because we have installed the plugins. Okay, so this option with Docker registry we will select. Okay, and registry credentials. Okay, so we need to add it, so we'll click on add, and here let's provide the credentials. Adi Jaiswal will be my username and password will be very secretive. Okay, and description you can just provide any name you want. I will go with Docker cred. Scroll down, click on add. Okay, now if once we added, it will be available here. And one thing that you need to note is in Docker registry URL, in case you are having a private registry, then only you need to provide URL. But in our case, we are using a public Docker Hub registry. Okay, so we don't need to provide URL. It will automatically understand that it is a Docker Hub URL. Okay, and Docker installation we have already set up, which is Docker. So we will generate a script. We will copy this. Okay, and let's paste it inside our script enclosure. Okay, so this is done. This is the part where we build our Docker image. Okay, so this is good. And here now we can write the Docker commands inside shell as such. Also, as I mentioned before, as soon as I started recording, stray dogs outside, they started their game. Now we need to shout. Okay, so the command to build the Docker image is that you need to run this command, docker build. Okay, -t you can write if you want, that is for tag. Okay, and a name you need to provide. So let's say I want to provide a name as shopping dash cart. We will change the name once we start tagging it, but for now just building it. Okay, after that we need to provide the location of this Docker file. Okay, and if you remember, on root directory we have this Docker folder, and inside Docker folder we have Docker file, right? So same thing we are going to write here, but in format -f for file, then docker / Docker file. Okay, and a dot. That means inside this location, inside this location we have our Docker file. Okay, so what I will do, I will click. Okay, maybe I should just tag it right now here, and in next step I can push it. Okay, so I will write as sh docker tag. Okay, Docker tag. So which image we want to tag is shopping dash cart. Okay, now what you need to understand here, when we say that we want to tag a Docker image, that is not just providing a version, but also naming our Docker image in a format which could be used for pushing the image to repository. Okay, so since we are using a Docker Hub public repository, so the format of general any of the image in Docker Hub repository goes like this. First of all, you need to write your username / then you can add the name you want. So I will go with Adi Jaiswal / shopping dash cart, and next I want a version. So a version I will just go with latest. Okay, so this looks good, and let's try to run it and let's see what happens. Okay, so I will click on build now, and it should started. You can see git checkout complete, declarative tool install complete, compilation complete. SonarQube analysis will take around 17 to 20 seconds, I guess. Okay, also the reason that I'm using this application, because it's a full-fledged application which is having a backend, front end, and as well as a database also. H2 database, if more precisely if I say, H2 database is being used in this application. Okay, and I would really request you, if you are finding this video useful, then make sure to subscribe, because it helps me a lot, as well as it motivates me to continue making videos on daily basis. Okay, so build completed, and now OS dependency check is running, but this time it won't take this long, because all the information, all the database of information is already downloaded. If I open the detailed log, you can see it started directly with building, and it has completed also. Okay, next you can see it is setting up the Docker client which we installed through a tool. Now it is building the Docker image. If you look closely through Docker file, you can see each step it is starting to build. Okay, if I scroll down, tagging is also complete. Okay, in case you want to see your Docker image, see, as of now we have not pushed it. Okay, we have just created it. So if I run the Docker command, Docker images, which is the main command for seeing the images. Okay, few Docker command, let me explain to you. Docker images, if I run, you can see this was the original image that we built, and this was the second image that we have tagged with a different name, right? Okay, in case you want to see how many containers running, you can run the command as docker ps We can see as of now just SonarQube container is running on which we are doing analysis. Okay, some other stages, other very common commands. In case you want to run a Docker container, what you can do, you can write docker run -d. -d is basically means detached mode, which means to give the logs in background. Okay, and -d. Okay, then if you want to provide a name to your container, you can use -- name. Let's say I want to put my make my container name as container1. Okay, finally port, which is the most important part. So port, basically here we need to provide the host port and container port. Okay, so container port is the port which is open inside the container, and host port is the port through which we will access the application in browser. Okay, for example, in case of SonarQube, I usually go with 9000. Okay, so both the values are 9000, but it can be different also. You just need to know first port is the host port, second port is the container port. Okay, and finally we just need to provide the docker image. For example, if I need to run SonarQube docker image, I can run SonarQube and colon. After colon, you need to provide a specific version which you can find inside Docker Hub. So usually I go with LTS community version because it's kind of stable. Okay, if I run enter, it will be failing because on the same port we have like SonarQube already running. But this is just to let you know that this is the basic command using which you can run Docker. Okay, which I will show you in our Jenkins also. Okay, so this is done. You can see like image has been created. Okay, so next what I want to do, what stages we have completed. Yeah, so Docker build image we have completed. Okay, next what I want to do, I want to push that Docker image inside our repository, Docker Hub repository. Okay, so how do we do that? Oh my god, sorry, I was not supposed to trigger. Okay, let it run. Meanwhile it is running, we can configure the pipeline. Okay, yeah, so let's expand it. Okay, so since we are going to add another stage for pushing the image. Okay, so let me copy this. Even you can add it here also in sh, but the thing is like to make it little bit more transparent and good looking, you can just add another stage, and that's what I'm going to see and I'm going to do. Okay, and here we need to change the name, which will be push Docker image, and the command that I want to run is, let me remove these commands first. Okay, and here I want to run the command as we will remove this. See, since you see there is no URL provided, how it will work, which is it will basically use this username to find my repository inside Docker Hub. That is the reason that we are supposed to write our name of our Docker image in a specific format. Okay, and this is done. This is all like this is the main command for pushing the Docker image. Okay, so let's click on apply and let's push it. Okay, click on build now, and if it works fine, then we should be able to see our Docker image here. Okay, meanwhile let me just close this one as well, Jenkins. Okay, SonarQube is there, let it be. Yeah, okay, so it has started, and let's see how much time it takes. As usual, you can see it's like within less than 1 minute it took for the previous field. Okay, and how many stages we'll be having today? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, total 9 stages we'll be having today. 9 or 10 stages we'll be having today. Okay, yeah, so let's wait for the OWASP stage to complete. Also see like all these stages, whatever I am going to use, everything is already shared with you, okay, from previous videos. So watch the videos properly and implement it. Okay, if you are having any question, you can ask your queries in the Telegram group, which is also open to all. Okay, so OWASP completed. Now it is building the Docker image again. Okay, yeah, Docker image done. Now Docker push is running. Okay. Let's see the logs. Okay, so Docker image pushed, and you can see the status here, like how it was like preparing layers and everything all. Okay, so if I go here, as of now you can see no image is there. We will refresh the page, and yeah, you can see here pushed a few seconds ago our image shopping cart. Okay, so this is good. Now what I want to do is deploy the application using a Docker container. Okay, so for that also what we will do, we will just add one more stage, copy this and paste it here. Okay, so if you remember correctly, I mentioned you how we can run a Docker image. Okay, and basically when we run a Docker image, the instance that is created, that is known as Docker container. Okay, so the command is docker run. Let me expand it a little bit. Yeah, docker run -d. See, since we are running in Jenkins, if I don't run -d, Jenkins job will keep running. That is the problem. So I want to run those things in background so that Jenkins job can finish and our application can be deployed. Okay, so docker run -d. The name I want is just shopping. Okay, and then port, as I mentioned, 8070, which we have also defined in our Docker file. Okay, and I think, yeah, this is fine. So let me check the image name is correct, everything fine. Click on apply. Let me check if any extra braces are not there, right? 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Yeah, okay, so we have saved. Now we can click on build now, and what it will do, it will on 9th or 10th stage, it will okay, I know what is the error. It's the same error that I do a mistake, but I hope you people are going to remember and not do the same mistakes. Okay, remember I said no two stages can have the same name, so we need to change the name. So I will provide the name as deploy to Docker container. Okay, this is done, and that's pretty much how you deploy an application to a Docker container. And what I want from you, you implement it and you put it on LinkedIn for others also to see that how you can deploy any application on Docker using Docker and create the application inside, run the application inside Docker container. Okay, and that is the pretty much the easiest way I could make you understand how a Docker file works. So I have shown you comparison from here to here. Okay, so I hope you understood the Docker and how it works. Okay, how it helps us to build and containerize an application. Okay, let's see few more seconds and we should be able to access our application. Basically a fully fledged application having front end, back end, and then database also for storing details. Okay, so yeah, OWASP stage is running. Okay, yeah, OWASP completed. Now it is building the Docker image, which should not take too much time. Yeah, that's completed. Now it is pushing the Docker image. So what we can do, we can go and check the detail logs from here, and yeah, you can see it is pushing the Docker image now. Docker image pushed. Now it is, yeah, the container has been created, it seems. Okay, now what we need to do, we can try to access the application. So that we can do by putting the IP address of our machine in 8070, click enter, and yeah, you can see the application is deployed. If we want to access, we can provide the credentials for admin first, which is admin. Okay, click on login, and 1 second, let me refresh it again. Sorry about that. Yeah, so you can see we are on the home page and we have logged in using admin role, and these are the different things which we can buy by clicking here. You can see it is added directly inside our what is that, cart, shopping cart. Okay, so if you want to add any other thing, we can just click on buy and it will be added and total will be visible here. Okay, what I want to show you now, if I sign out from here, okay, so by default it will give you the username password page for login, but in case you are new, you can go with this registration page, and whatever data that you provide here will be stored in the local database. So in our application, it is H2 database which is being used to store the details. Okay, so basically you can register here and you can log in with the new details which you have created. Okay, also this application is so fully fledged, you can even use this in your resume if you want. Okay, If you need more explanation, then you can join my Telegram group and we can discuss things there. And that's pretty much for today, and I hope this video was useful. You learned how to deploy your applications inside a Docker container using Docker. Okay, so everything is fine, and thanks for watching and have a nice day.